This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. What does a bariatric carnivore eat in a day? Good question. About 10 years ago, I had about 70% of my stomach cut out through bariatric surgery. It's called a vertical sleeve surgery, where they literally cut 70% of your stomach out and staple it apart, and you heal, and you go on your merry way. One of the ways it works is it drastically reduces the amount of food that you can eat at any given time, because that stomach just doesn't stretch out. So after you have the surgery, you have to go through a healing process. So you have about 1 week of nothing but clear liquids, another week of soup, broth, stuff like that, then a week of very soft food, and then another week of very chopped up, ground up type food. And you do that, and after about a month, you're healed and you're ready to go on and eat real food. But what I found is you are dramatically limited in how much you can eat, and that's one of the reasons you lose weight. It also changes your hormone levels pretty dramatically too, particularly ghrelin, the hunger hormone. It works very closely like Ozempic or Wegovy and the other weight loss drugs by reducing the hunger signals. So it creates some phenomenal hormonal changes. And what's interesting about bariatric surgery, at least initially, is that it creates such a dramatic hormone change that it almost within a week you're healed of any fatty liver disease. Many diabetics get off insulin very, very quickly because they cannot get the amount of glucose they used to get. And during that, that 1 month transition period where you're just basically trying to get as much protein as you possibly can into your system, you're basically on a ketogenic diet. And that month often heals people of their diabetes. And if they stick to it, they're good. But most people, at least 30% or so of people that go through bariatric surgery, unfortunately, go back to their old eating habits and they regain the weight. So what do I eat now, 10 years out? And here's an interesting statistic. A lot of people that have bariatric surgery lose their weight. About a year out, though, they start to regain it. Part of the reason is because when you reduce the amount of calories that you're taking in, your basal metabolic rate goes down pretty dramatically. It's very similar to what we saw with the Biggest Loser study that came out a few years ago. Nearly all the contestants in the Biggest Loser regained all the weight, and some of them gained more weight than before they even started the program. It's calorie restriction has a tendency to reduce your body's need for calories in the course of a day. And as a result, if you keep eating this, unless you're reducing the amount that you're eating, and if you're eating a standard American diet, you're going to regain weight because your body needs fewer calories every day. Now, I'm not a big fan of using calories alone as a measurement for how much you're eating, but it is a tool for helping you figure out basal metabolic rate, about how much food you should be eating just to maintain weight. It's a very crude tool, but it's one tool that helps you out. The other one, so I'm not a big fan of just looking at pure calories in, calories out as a model, and I'll explain that in another future video, why I don't think it works. But what I've learned is that you have to see how the effect of the food on your hormone levels, particularly the hormone insulin. And while we were taught in school that there's 3 essential food groups that we need. We always need carbs, we always need fat, and we always need protein. And that's wrong. You don't need carbs. Carbs are not an essential nutrient. You can go your entire life and never eat a carb. And frankly, if you don't believe me, leave me a note in the comment field below. I will supply you with the evidence that says they're not necessary. You don't need to eat a carb ever again in order to live a healthy life. People have done it. And it's been proven, and it's been done in a bariatric, in a laboratory environment where somebody was, Stefanson was held into a private room at Bellevue Hospital for a year, fed nothing but meat and fat, and he thrived on it. You don't need carbs in order to live. Frankly, you'll do better without them, because what carbs do is spike the insulin. So while my metabolic rate is dropping, I've also changed my diet to a more carnivore, almost pure carnivore. 95% or more of my calories come from either beef, bacon, butter, and eggs. That's 95% of my calories. And that is more than enough to stay alive and keep me well and provide me all the nutrients that I need in order to survive, thrive. You don't get scurvy if you're not eating carbs and you're eating this type of diet. There's no reported cases of anybody ever getting scurvy. You don't need to eat oranges. You don't have to suck on a lemon in order to survive on a ketogenic diet or a carnivore diet. You just don't get it. There aren't any known diseases that come from eating nothing but meat. Now, there's lots of diseases that can come if you're eating a vegan diet, unless you really know what the heck you're doing. But just eating meat is more than enough to keep you alive. You will get all the nutrients. There's over 5,000 nutrients in beef alone, and we haven't mapped all of them out yet. So there's a lot of good stuff in it that keeps you alive and very healthy. So what do I eat every day? Well, I only can eat 2 meals a day. My goal in life, I don't have a diet set down that I've got to eat this much food. My goal is to eat until I am full and then not eat again until I'm hungry. So every morning, or I say morning, usually around 10, maybe 11 o'clock is when I start to feel hungry. And then I'll eat 4 eggs. And then usually about 1/3 to 1/2 pound of meat. And that's usually in the form of bacon or hamburger or both. And I mix those in with my eggs. And that takes care of me. I'm usually fine until maybe in the afternoon. I'll start getting a little tang of hunger. And 2-3 times a week, I'll have a tin of sardines. Now, I happen to like sardines. So don't look at me weird. I just do. I'm not telling you in order to be healthy you have to eat sardines. But one of the advantages I found about sardines is they're high in iodine. I live in Oklahoma. We don't have much iodine in our soil. And there's not much in the air. If you're 50 miles from a coast, you've got iodine. I don't have it. They're high in certain omega acids that are very helpful. There's a lot of, plus collagen protein because you're eating sardines whole, which means you're getting the bones and the skin and all that good stuff. So there's a lot of good stuff that comes from them. I happen to like them. I'm not telling you have to eat them. I just happen to like them with a little bit of mustard on them. And that's, a couple times, maybe 2-3 times a week, I'll have a thing of sardines. That'll take me through until about 5 o'clock at night. And then I'll start getting really hungry. And I'll do about 3/4 to a pound of beef. And that can vary from night to night. Sometimes it's ribeyes, sometimes I'll throw in a roast. My new favorite is bone-in chuck roast. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. A bone-in roast is just the best cut of beef I can imagine. Or sometimes I'll just do a quiche, crustless quiche with eggs, bacon, meat, etc. I vary it. I like to eat. I like flavors. I'm not eating a bland, boring diet. I invested a little bit more in getting some cool stuff to make my steaks better, so I get a nice sear and crust on my meat. Sometimes I have hamburger. I'll just cook up some hamburgers. Once a week, only once a week, I'll have liver. I happen to like liver mixed with bacon. I think it's fantastic. So I'll have about 4 ounces of liver. But what's interesting to me is whenever I have more than 1 serving of liver a week, I get a little nauseous. So you look at that over the course of a week, and I really strongly suggest you get out of the idea that you look at your meal frequency and look at the nutrients based on a day. Because some days, frankly, I just don't feel like eating. And if I don't feel like eating because I'm feeling sick, I've got a virus or something like that, I just don't eat. I don't feel any compulsion to eat. And if I'm not hungry, I'm not eating. I try to stop when I am comfortably full. And by doing that, for the last 3 years, I lost about 15 pounds initially when I went pure carnivore, and my weight stayed stable ever since. Now, weight is only one measurement of your overall health, but what it means to me more than anything else is my clothes have pretty much stayed the same except for my shirts. My shirts are getting tighter in the shoulders because my arms seem to be getting bigger. Body composition seems to be getting more muscular, and I like it. Waist is getting smaller. I like that too. So is my girlfriend. So we're all in favor of, use yourself as a guide. Try to look at how are your clothes fitting as a guide. That's probably a better guide to see how you're doing as far as weight-wise than actually the scale. Because when you switch to a more carnivore or keto diet, you're probably increasing the amount of protein that you're getting into your system, which is allowing your muscles to grow because you're giving it more building blocks. And that will make you stronger over the long haul. And, look, I will talk about this in a future video, but you really, particularly at my age, I'm approaching 60. I know that my body has been losing muscle mass for a long time, and I'm trying to gain as much as I can to hold on to it as long as I can to make my old age as good as it can be. So these are all muscle and strength are probably your two best markers for how well you're going to do in old age. So that's what I eat in a day. Basically, it's down to 2 meals a day. Eggs, some meat, steak at night. A few times a week, I'll throw in some sardines. And then, I like liver once a week just because I happen to like calf's liver. I'm not saying that you have to eat it. There's some studies that have been done. One of them from Harvard Health, when they looked at carnivore diet, people that eat on a carnivore diet, many of them whom have been on it for years, and they've been very healthy, very successful, and they don't eat organ meat. And so it's perfectly fine to eat organ meat or not eat organ meat, as far as we can tell. I don't care what the Liver King says. I don't care what anybody says, any of the influencers. There's a lot of people that encourage eating nose to tail and eating organ meat. If you like it, great. If you don't worry about it. I happen to like it, so I eat it. So that's what I eat. Hey, put down in the comment fields if you've been doing carnivore for a while, and particularly if you're another bariatric patient, write down what you eat. It doesn't have to be exact, but look, on a typical day, this is about how much I eat, and we can compare notes. If you like this video, please like it. If you want to see more videos similar to this, subscribe to the channel. We'll be covering a lot of areas dealing with health, the carnivore diet, bariatric surgery, and also overall health. We've got future videos coming up soon on how I do strength training and why that's important, and more information on how to save your healthcare costs by doing your own labs. So again, if you like it, please hit subscribe. Till then, till we see you next time, I'm trying to get one video up a day. So your support helps make that happen.